Farting. This is a One School for All lecture by me, Andrew Thomas, at Østfold University College that I want you to watch by the 9th of November when we next meet. So I was traveling through Europe, through the beautiful towns of Bamberg and Heidelberg and Graz the other day, a couple of years ago now, and thinking about how to deal with offensive behavior in the classroom, the kind of behavior that you know is going to disturb the class, and you don't want it to disturb the class. You don't want to go in loggerheads with your pupils either. You don't want to have a fight with anyone, and you want to preserve the dignity and the interests of all your pupils. And I decided to treat this theme with the similar theme of farting. What do we do with people who fart? And this is what I came up with.
I want to talk to you about something that is very close to my heart, which is not to say my stomach, but farting. Now imagine you're in a classroom, or a train for that matter, and the person next to you, or one of your pupils, just delivers a series of farts. Now, because you're a nice person, you don't immediately get disgusted. You think this is natural. The person perhaps has some kind of medical condition, they have a bad stomach, something like that. But even if they did it deliberately, if they're able to magically control their farts, you can imagine that this would be explained away by some kind of rebellious disorder, or they're not entirely in control of their emotions, so they deliberately provoke you. Point is, you're nice, you're being tolerant, you make explanations, and you find out what is wrong. Well done.
Well, thank you, Andrew. And of course, this is the way the standard way in which we respond to things that might disturb our classrooms. We politely ignore the emotional outbursts, the tics, or whatever might in other contexts count as offensive behavior, because we are tolerant teachers. Very often there are children that can't actually help doing or behaving the way they do. And we're proud of that. Tolerance is a good thing. It's a virtue. It's like the modern virtue. But there are other aspects to that, which I discovered when I was going even further down my train journey.
But then, what if they are doing this on purpose? Well, if that's the case, then they might be trying to send you a message. I'm not talking like the kind of people that burp the alphabet or anything, but they may be trying to say something that you need to hear. It could be a rebellion. They're just saying, no, I'm not going with you on this. It could be that they just want you to live your life differently or do something differently. The point is, this could be a message, and you could be ignoring it just by being tolerant and understanding and trying to help them, or trying to think of what can be going wrong with their life and not reacting. One thing's certain, the longer you wait, the longer you ignore this message, the more awkward it's going to get, and maybe more smelly.
You see, that was a good point, and it's perhaps no accident that I came up with that idea as I was approaching Austria, the home of Buber, and I hope that you would hear the words of Buber and the thoughts of Buber with his becoming aware ideas behind what I was saying there. But it's also an idea that we get from James Scott's idea of hidden transcripts and peasant rebellion. Unusual behavior like farting or comedy or laughter could also be political action, the kind of thing people say in these unusual ways, in these unusual formats, because they can't say it right out. There are some things that you can't just address, whether that be because it's too awkward or because the person that you're addressing actually has too much power over you. So you can't really say it directly, and so you have to say it in some kind of hidden way. And this is what James Scott calls the hidden transcript, something that the people in power don't hear, but everybody else is able to recognize. And what do we do with that? Well, it's difficult to say, because if this by definition is something we can't understand, maybe we were never meant to hear it. Maybe these are things that are codes that are meant to be spoken throughout the classroom rather than to the teacher. One thing is certain, though, treating this as a symptom, as something we are tolerating, something that we are meant to be interpreting as a surface effect of something that's going on below the surface, rather than listening to it directly as a message, are two very different ways of paying attention to the classroom. And that's really all I had to say with my farting analogy. Of course, this doesn't mean that intolerance is any better. And this is serious business. There are children who have to live in classrooms day in and day out with teachers that are bullying them. And definitely tolerance, even the kind of tolerance which doesn't listen, is better than that. It is simply not acceptable if somebody is demonstrating offensive behavior, whether that's because they're saying something that you need to hear or because they're acting in ways that they can't help. It is not acceptable to respond to that by being offensive yourself, either to them or anyone else. We need to be able to just take this, and we need to learn the patience that we need in order to be good teachers. But simple tolerance or just ignoring it is not enough either. We have to be able to listen in case the children are actually saying something that, like I say, we need to listen to, because we need to allow the children to act politically, to say things that are difficult to say to somebody who has power over them. And we have to accept that we as teachers do have power over children. So there we have it. There are three ways of reacting to offensive behavior. There's the bullying, just responding in kind and being offensive back. There's diagnosis and being tolerant. And there's listening. And I'm not sure that listening is the one that's always appropriate. These are three different ways, and only one of them, I think, is unacceptable. And these are in many ways three frames for the module, three ways to look at one school for all. The mode of intolerance, and the mode of tolerance, and the mode of political agency. Do you tolerate? Do you take revenge? Do you listen? Three very different ways of being teachers. I hope we have time to discuss them in class.